Hello and welcome to the Good Ones podcast. My name is Laura Pereira, and we are here today, the second day of the year, to continue our journey through the Bible in a year. I am so excited for anybody who decided to come back today, or if this is your first time here, hi. We will be going through the whole Bible throughout this year and stopping to talk about some key insights or just some questions that I might have. So I hope that you follow along and read with me. Some of you might be wondering why this is called the Good One podcast, and I just want to tell you guys why, because I was thinking I didn't say anything about it yesterday, but I had originally wanted to make a podcast called The Good Ones, talking about people in our society who have just done incredible things and we've probably never heard about them, because today we're so focused on the negativity. Like, I loved murder mystery podcasts and things like that, but I thought to myself, like, I wish that there was just more good being spread. It's not something that we usually go looking for. So I bought all the equipment, I got ready to make the podcast, and then I just stopped. And I was like, oh, I can't put myself out there on the internet like that. That's crazy. But here I am. So I decided to change the name to The Good One, because who is the good one? It's Jesus, right? It's God. God is the best one. So I changed the name and made this podcast about journeying through the Bible in a year. And hopefully there will be more to come, but this is just the beginning. So thank you guys for joining me. We are starting today in Genesis chapter 5. Yesterday we read 1 through 4. Today we're reading 5, 6, and 7. I'm just going to go ahead and get started. I want to give you guys a moment here, an opportunity, if you'd like to stop and pray, pause the video, listen to a worship song beforehand. Really just give yourself the opportunity to connect with God, so that when you're listening, you're not just listening to me talk, but you're listening to the words that God wanted us to know and hear. So if you want to pause it, you can. If not, let's get started. I also mentioned yesterday, I'm like, let's get started. And then psych, let's not. I mentioned yesterday about having highlighters and pencils handy if you have the Bible in front of you, and that we are in the English Standard Version. So now let's get started. Okay. Adam's descendant to Noah. This is the book of the generations of Adam. When God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. Male and female, he created them, and he blessed them and named them man when they were created. When Adam had lived 130 years, he fathered a son in his own likeness, after his image, and named him Seth. The days of Adam after he fathered Seth were 800 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Thus, all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. I want to mark this here because I always find it interesting, like, how long people lived back then, because God was like, you can't eat from the tree of life because you're going to end up living forever. But like 800 years feels like a really long time. And also yesterday I had mentioned wondering who Cain's wife was, where she came from, and said that I would Google that. I did end up Googling that last night. And some theories suggest that Adam and Eve had more children before they had Seth, after they had Cain and Abel, or before. They're not sure. But they're thinking that Cain's wife, just things that I read, is his sister. So, obviously nowadays that would be very frowned upon and I think illegal in most states. However, back then, because there wasn't enough people to populate the earth, that is what people are assuming, and that the people that Cain was afraid of that would murder him were, Adam and Eve, his other brothers and sisters, any children that they would have. I mean, consider if you're living for 800 years and you're fathering kids for even half of that time, like how many babies are already there and grown up and walking around. So that was some of the things that I found really interesting when I looked up, who would Cain even be afraid of? If it's just Adam and Eve and Cain, why is he scared? But I never stopped to consider that, this is only the account of Cain and Abel here. It's not the account of all of Adam and Eve's other children, and none of their daughters are mentioned. And, who's to say that they only had sons? So all right, we're moving on, and we are on verse 6 of chapter 5. When Seth had lived 105 years, he fathered Enosh. Seth lived after he fathered Enosh 807 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus, all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. When Enosh had lived 90 years, he fathered Kenan. Enosh lived after he fathered Kenan 815 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus all the days of Enosh were 905 years, and he died. And this is just, I'm going to keep going and I'm going to read all the names here, and I'm probably going to butcher half of them, but this is just an account of the men and the sons. Like, this person lived and had this. So that's, making me understand a little more about Cain and Abel and only hearing about Adam and Eve's sons. That even here, when it's talking about Adam's descendants going all the way to Noah, from Seth to Noah, it's just talking about the sons and who they fathered and their sons. And then the only really time that it mentions women is when it says sons and daughters, or it talks about somebody's wife. It doesn't really just specify one woman doing something besides, Eve making the boo-boo with the fruit. All right. So on this long line of family, Kenan, I keep wanting to say Canaan. Kenan lived after he fathered Mahalalel 840 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus, all the days of Kenan were 910 years, and he died. When Mahalalel had lived 65 years, he fathered Jared. Mahalalel lived after he fathered Jared 830 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus, all the days of Mahalalel were 895 years, and he died. When Jared had lived 162 years, he fathered Enoch. Could you imagine being 162 years old and having children? I definitely have to think that, like, their bodies aged a lot differently than ours do now, because that's insane. Jared lived after he fathered Enoch 800 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus, all the days of Jared were 962 years, and he died. When Enoch had lived 65 years, so when he's young, apparently, he fathered Methuselah. Enoch walked with God after he fathered Methuselah 300 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus, all the days of Enoch were 365 years. Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. This is the first time we're hearing that God took someone. So here it's saying he walked with God, and then he was not. And I'm assuming that means that he died. But it says here, when you look at the little footnotes, it says was not found. So he walked with God, and then he disappeared because God took him. All right. When Methuselah had lived 187 years, he fathered Lamech. Methuselah lived after he fathered Lamech 782 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus, all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. I wonder if anybody has stopped to do the math here and to see, like, how long this all totals out to be when you're thinking about the distance from Adam and Eve to going all the way. Now we're at Methuselah and continuing down. We're about to hit Noah, but they lived hundreds and hundreds of years. These are thousands of years passing in between. So I wonder if anyone has actually sat down and done the math and added it together. And if you've heard of that or have seen that, please send me that number, because I'm wondering how long this all totals out to be. Right. When Lamech had lived 182 years, he fathered a son and called his name Noah, saying, out of the ground that the Lord has cursed, this one shall bring us relief from our work and from the painful toil of our hands. Lamech lived after he fathered Noah 595 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. After Noah was 500 years old, Noah fathered Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So if you're wondering, that was all of chapter 5. And chapter 5 really seems to be just a genealogy of Adam's descendants to Noah. So I'm guessing that the name of the chapter really would have helped figure that out. But yeah, it's just all the descendants and making our way over to Noah, people living for, less than 1,000 years, but over 500, very long time. And now we're going into chapter 6. Increasing corruption on earth. When man began to multiply on the face of the land and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were attractive, and they took as their wives any they chose. So I've researched into the sons of God, and what I found was that people theorize the sons of God could either be angels, or they could be from Seth's lineage, those men who kept relationship with God. But once again, it's speculation because the Bible doesn't tell us exactly their names. All right. Then the Lord said, my spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh. His days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, And also afterwards, when the sons of God came into the daughters of man, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown. So something else which I love, thank you, Lord, for saying we're not living that long. I know some people are like, oh, wouldn't you want to live forever? Like, no, there are bad things here. I am done. Once I hit a certain point, I'm okay. I don't want 900 years here in, the corruption. And I mean, obviously you might make some good money if you spend 900 years here, but like, who needs it? That's crazy. Okay. And then the Nephilim here were on the earth in those days. I did some research into what the Nephilim are. And people think they're like giants or cyclopses or things like that, or super strong men. And there's speculation that the Nephilim are thumbs down. We don't want strong men here. Sorry. If you're watching the video, you can see the reactions that just pop up randomly. I have to figure that out somehow. But the Nephilim were on the earth, and it's talking about the sons of God. Some people speculate that the Nephilim were the sons of God. I personally am going to have to disagree, just for the purpose of grammar in this sentence. And I know that this is a translation, so maybe this is something where I have to go back to the original text and do some research into how that was written originally, like were the commas in the same place, were things like that. But as some of you may know, I'm a school teacher, and so I see the commas in here and I'm like, okay, they were in those days then and also afterwards. So it's saying they were already there when the sons of God came down and started having babies with the women. So I would assume that they are not the children of the sons of God. All right. If you think they are, though, and you have some interesting facts to back that up, I would love to talk about that. So please reach out. Okay. So we're on chapter 6, verse 5. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart. So the Lord said, I will blot out man whom I have created from the face of the land, man and animals and creeping things and birds of the heavens, for I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. How difficult that must be for God to come to that conclusion of like, I made man, and honestly, I'm like, they shouldn't even be around because of what they're doing. And you have to consider too, like, people back then were doing crazy things that were just totally not okay. Like, and for God to get to that point, it's like, think about a parent who their child like steals from them and abuses them and is just really manipulative and doesn't take any care of them. It's like people cut off relationship in situations like that. But God has his children, which us back then, who are doing crazy, like way worse than that. And he's hitting the point where he's like, I have to get rid of them. Like, it's just not okay what they're doing, and I can't have them around. And you also, if you think about it from the perspective of a parent, it's like, well, I would never murder my child for doing things that they shouldn't do. But at the same time, God is not just our Father, but he is our heavenly Father. Like, he is God. He is the creator of everything. So if he sees that the things that he made are just massacring and assaulting and, hurting children, it's like, at this point, we just can't have this keep happening. Okay, Noah and the flood. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his generation. Noah walked with God. Thank you for that, Noah, because we were almost exterminated, so you kept us around. And Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. And God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. And God said to Noah, I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark and cover it inside and out with pitch. This is how you are to make it. The length of an ark, 300 cubits, its breadth 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. Make a roof for the ark and finish it to the cubit above, and set the door of the ark in its side. Make it with lower, second, and third decks. For behold, I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh in which is the breath of life under heaven. Everything that is on earth shall die. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. And of every living thing of all flesh you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female, of the birds according to their kinds, and of the animals according to their kinds, of every creeping thing of the ground according to its kind. 2 of every sort shall come in to you to keep them alive. Also take with you every sort of food that is eaten, and store it up. It shall serve as food for you and for them. Noah did this. He did all that God commanded him. This ark is literally huge, which I'm sure most of you have seen like some drawings of it or something, but they actually have a museum, and I really want to go in the United States that is a replication of the ark. And that just sounds so fascinating to be able to walk up and see that. And then inside of it, it has like some things like the animals that would have been there, Noah and his family. So I think that would be a really cool thing to experience. I also, something that I noticed reading this again is that God talks about bringing every type of animal, every kind of animal. So not just like when I was little and I heard this story, I would think like, oh, so like 2 lizards, but it's like, no, like two iguanas and 2 geckos and 2 this, like 2 of each kind of animal, not just like two elephants, 2 tigers, but each like specific type of animal. I'm sure there's a better, like more scientific way to say that, but I hope you get what I'm saying. All right, moving on, chapter 7. Then the Lord said to Noah, go into the ark, you and all your household, for I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs of all clean animals, the male and his mate, and a pair of animals that are not clean, the male and his mate, and 7 pairs of the birds of the heavens, also male and female, to keep their offspring alive on the face of the earth. For in the 7 days I will send rain on the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and every living thing that I have made I will blot out from the face of the ground. And Noah did all that the Lord had commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters came upon the earth. And Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him went into the ark to escape the waters of the flood. Of clean animals and of animals that are not clean, and of birds, and of everything that creeps on the ground, 2 and 2, male and female, went into the ark with Noah, as God had commanded Noah. And after 7 days, the water of the flood came upon the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, on that day all the fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of the heavens were opened, and rain fell upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. On the very same day, Noah and his sons, Shem and Ham and Japheth, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons, with them entered the ark. And they, every beast according to its kind, and all the livestock according to their kinds, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth according to its kind, and every bird according to its kind, every winged creature. They went into the ark with Noah, 2 and 2 of all flesh, in which there was the breath of life. And those that entered, male and female, of all flesh, went in as God had commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. The flood continued 40 days on the earth. The waters increased and bore up the ark, and it rose high above the earth. The waters prevailed and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the face of the waters. And the waters prevailed so mightily on the earth that all the high mountains under the whole heaven were covered. The waters prevailed above the mountains, covering them 15 cubits deep. And all flesh died that moved on the earth, birds, livestock, beasts, all swarming creatures that swarm on the earth, and all mankind. Everything on the dry land, in whose nostril was the breath of life, died. He blotted out every living thing that was on the face of the ground, man and animals, and creeping things, and birds of the heavens. They were blotted out from the earth. Only Noah was left, and those who were with him in the ark, and the waters prevailed on the earth 150 days. So I know that there has been some debate about if the flood actually covered the whole earth or if it just covered what Noah thought was the whole earth. But what I get from this is, when I take this as the word of God, which is what I see the Bible as, I take it that it was the whole earth. It says all of mankind. It says all of the mountains. It was all over everything. So I don't know. I think that it was everything. And when you think about it, you're like, wow, that's insane. How could that even happen? But then again, the whole creation of the world is insane. The fact that we're here and living and breathing, and living in houses and driving cars and having jobs. Like, it's all crazy. So God can do anything. And this just shows God's power and him saying that this corruption cannot stand.
So I was talking about how God was fed up with the corruption in the world. But as a mom who is home recording a podcast and YouTube videos during the day, I can get interrupted here and there by my daughter, which is totally okay because now I know how to edit a little bit or clip things together and put a band-aid on it and hope that it's okay. So I look forward to continuing on in our journey through the Bible tomorrow, starting off with chapter 8 and just talking more about what happens after the flood. So crazy times, but have a great night, guys, or a great day, and please join me tomorrow.